Hi everyone, I'm here with Hanna again, and today we'll be talking on transitioning the newborn baby into the family. So Hanna's actually had 3 kids, so she's had to experience this, well, 3 times really, because I suppose the first time still counts because you and your family was then you and your partner, right?
So yeah.
So 3 times. So having done it 3 times, what are your top tips for parents in transitioning their newborn baby into the family? And how did you yourself mentally prepare for this process?
Okay, so it is definitely different for the firstborn compared to, so if we go like as if you've already got the firstborn and go into transitioning a new child,
Okay.
Second or third. So I did have a big gap. So I had our first one, and then 9 years later we had 2 boys. So I just only got that transition in the first part with Cassandra, and then after that the 2 boys together. So with the second boy being born, it is a difficult time.
Yeah.
It's hard to get them to fully understand what's about to happen, and I know that I felt as though I should have prepared Elijah even more. So even though he was listening to the baby, they feel the baby, talk about it as much as possible.
Yeah.
What I didn't do so much was what it meant when this child was born, what his position was, how things would change, what he'd be sharing.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't prepared for that side. And so I definitely talk about that as well. So if you're, just like if you're breastfeeding and you've breastfed, like for Elijah, breastfed him, and then suddenly so he's like, what? That's my mum, and what are you doing? He didn't quite get that at all, so that was rather distressing for him. So letting them know that they will need their food, where their food source is, and that that's important, and but give them also a role of responsibility. So it's important that you look after this. Just as well as me, it's important for you to look after your brother or your sister or whatever. So you give them that sense of relationship that way, where you're strengthening them with, even if they're 2, it doesn't matter, it's still saying you're important to helping make sure that this little new being that can't look after themselves at all is looked after and protected. And also let them know that they'll always be loved.
Yep.
It's very important to let them know that they are just, that they're really important to you. They do feel, most of the time, well, from my experience, I can only go by, there's definitely a feeling of insecurity once that new child has come in. So we just have to do a lot more reinforcing. The other thing too is if you can get if you're 2 parents, finding a bit more time for the parent that's going to work all the time in those early times to be able to take a bit more time off. It really does help that older child or the older children that are around, because the mother's so preoccupied with that child in the first little bit as they're transitioning into the family as they're born. So I think that's really important for the stability of that family moving forward, to really focus on making sure you get a good dynamic going of security in those early few months.
That makes a lot of sense. It's quite understandable. Do you remember exactly how you told your older 2 children that they were going to have a new sibling?
Well, Cassandra was a lot older, so that was easy for her to understand, because she was 6 when Elijah was born. So, she was 9 when Elijah was born. I wanted her to be 6, but that was so she fully, she had full cognition really of what it meant that what was happening, and she was very embracing of that and very, very helpful. And I think for me at that stage, having an older child, maybe I didn't give her enough time one-on-one with me in that time, and that would be the thing that I would change, is still cutting out time to make sure that you still have that time for your older children as well. It doesn't have to be very long, but it does need to have it. I think it would have been a benefit for me if I had, because I became so preoccupied with this young child. They were with me all the time, anytime I was interacting with her, and I think that made it difficult. So getting support that way is really, really helpful as well, so that you still have time one-on-one as well with your other children.
I really appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing what you would have done differently. Do you remember though how you felt when you were juggling like a newborn baby and kids and 3 kids?
Oh, well, it's always difficult.
Always difficult?
Yep. Get as much support as you can.
Yeah.
Don't try and be a hero and do it all yourself. It's I don't ask for help easily at all.
Oh, okay.
I know on retrospect that it would have been better if I'd been able to organise my time a bit better and allow also time for myself. It didn't have to be much, but I think that I am extremely dedicated and full on when I do parenting, and I really am 100% there all the time. So you get worn out easily.
If that's the case, then, well, what's one thing that you would tell parents who are having their very first child then? Because it will be a shock. What's one thing you'll tell?
One thing? I think it's hard to say. I think that you have to realise that it is really important. I guess I can't stress enough how important it is that you are there 100% for that child in those first 2 years especially. And but if you, I know circumstances are so difficult now for people. There's so much pressure financially now that it's difficult even to grab those first 2 years. So whatever time you can in that beginning, just be there 100% for them. When I say you need support, you do need support. That might be that making sure that you're looked after, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to carve out the same times that you used to. And it all depends on the temperament of your child. You might have a child that we've had children in the families that I've seen and I've gone like, wow, look at that child. They just sleep easily. They go out to restaurants, into the car easily. They go out to parties easily, whatever. And they just sleep in their little carrier and no problem. I didn't have kids that were like that. So it was really hard. They hated the car. It was really difficult to get out. And they were happy children when they were at home or just when they got to play outside and be in that, but they just didn't like moving around much. They didn't like a lot of the things that maybe some other lifestyles would be used to. So you do have to have an adaptation. And depending on the temperament of your child, but and I'm talking about those first few months at the moment, but know that it is very demanding, but it's really, really important, and it's a really important time and a really important bonding time, and it does have implications for later on if you're not able to give that time to. So just allow yourself to and organise as much support as you can. People cooking meals.
Thank you so much, Hanna, for sharing. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes I don't know myself too. I don't really like reaching out for help, but sometimes it's just what you need, right?
Yes, it is. And retrospectively, you can sort of see it, but
All right. Well, thank you so much, Hanna. If anyone has any questions for Hanna, feel free to reach out. Thank you.